In 2025, Whistler Crankworx was, I will say, my return to shooting action. But to understand why that is, we need to step back. Just briefly, I won't go into too much detail. In 2020, I was diagnosed with an illness, and despite saying that it wasn't going to take over my life, I eventually had to recognize that things were going to change. Those things that changed were more profound than I expected, and the result was stepping away from shooting photography and doing much of what I enjoyed so much and had worked so hard to get to. In 2024, a local rider who I'd shot with before asked me if I was done shooting bikes, and at the time I said yes. I was really into shooting products. I am really into shooting products, and I didn't see myself shooting action again. That was until 2025. I started shooting video again after many years of not doing it. And for those that don't know, video is really where it started for me. I shot for a company in Australia called Black Phoenix Films back around 2000, 2001 and 2. And when I picked up a camera again in Canada, that was where my focus was. Over the years, my passion for photography grew, and while most of my stuff was done shooting video at the time, I did start shooting photography on film. So when the opportunity in 2025 came up to go to Crankworx Whistler and have a pretty staunch media pass, thanks to an athlete of a brand that I work with, I took it. Initially I had to shoot video. That was the focus. And there were a couple of riders I needed to get. But the rider that got me the pass was the focus, and she's a slopestyle rider. So that's where everything started. And from there, I quickly realized that shooting photos really gets my blood boiling. That's the wrong term. Revs my engine. During the slopestyle, it was okay. I initially shot video, I got the clips I needed, but eventually I found myself flicking over to photo as soon as I could. And that was even more apparent when I came to shooting head-to-head race action at the dual slalom and the Pumptrack. So I stuck out the video, shooting what I had to do. And as soon as those riders were out of the competition, the camera flung over to stills, and I picked up where I left off. I was a bit rusty for sure. I have been shooting photos of my own, but no bike action. So here we are, Crankworx 2025, the biggest slopestyle event of the year, and I have this wicked media pass that gets me into all the zones, minus, I think there was one zone that could get in with, I think it's called the Platinum Pass. I didn't have that, I had the one below. And during practice it was great. I was moving around the obstacles, getting some interesting shots, I thought. And then on the main day, I'd set myself up to be in this one spot lower down the course. And I found it was awesome for video, but for shooting photos, it really created a sort of bland image. It didn't allow you to get too creative, because the whole point of it was to be able to see a lot of the course and to give the media a clear view of the features without spectators being in the way. As I said, it worked awesome for video. For photo, when I shoot Slopestyle and Whistler again, regardless of the accreditation I have, I'm going to go down into the crowd. I kept thinking during this shoot, during this event, that I wanted to be in the crowd seeing what they were seeing. I wanted to get the angles closer to the features, under the features, rather than these sort of flattened images that came out here. And you can see it in these. The shots from practice have a bit more character to them, and the shots from the actual contest, they lacked some depth. That's not to take anything away from the event or the riders. The whole experience was phenomenal. The sequences that I'm showing here, I'm pretty stoked on. The little camera that I was using for this really helped with that. Surprisingly, I bought this little camera for video, and it's not known for a photography camera. It's only got 12 megapixels, which is something people complain about all the time, but it's a great little photo camera. Shooting Crankworx is a tricky one. There's a lot of events going on, and a lot of the time you're having to sacrifice maybe what you'd prefer to be shooting. While I was shooting practice in the slopestyle, on the slopestyle course, the dual slalom started, and I've always been a huge fan of slalom. So as I stood waiting for riders on the slopestyle course, I found myself looking over at the slalom track and being drawn to it. I really wanted to go over there and shoot what was happening. And one of the riders I was supposed to be shooting was there. So as soon as practice wrapped up on the slopestyle, that's where I went. And I got the video clips I needed for that rider and brand. But again, just like the slopestyle, as soon as that rider was through and not going to be back for a bit, the camera was flipped to photo mode and I was shooting stills again. And this was getting me really excited. This is, as I said, one format that has always excited me. When I first started mountain biking, dual slalom was a part of the World Cup, and the races and the courses were simpler, and it was still so exciting to watch. Watching Lopes and Eric Carter compete against each other in their heyday was thrilling. And being trackside right next to these men and women flying through corners, blowing up berms as they push as hard as they can to beat the person in the lane next to them, it's just so exciting. And shooting that action is something I really, really appreciate. It was during the slalom that I realized how much I miss shooting action and how much I miss shooting stills. As I said, I've been shooting over the years that I was out of the action scene. Product photography is something I'm deeply passionate about. And I still would take photos of just day-to-day life or trips with the family. But getting me back trackside with one of my favorite disciplines to watch and shoot was unreal. And as this progressed, I could feel myself getting back into the flow. It was just fun. All of these shots you're seeing are shots I'm happy with. There are hundreds that still are on the cutting room floor. But the ones that really get me excited are the ones that show the action, like the shot of Tristan Lemire here. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Lemire. Sorry, Tristan. But the shot of him hitting that berm, and you can see the dirt in the berm behind him, I can still hear his tires ripping that berm looking at this shot. And that gets me so excited to ride a bike and to see it, to show it. Shots like this, for me, show the energy of mountain biking and racing mountain bikes and slalom. Someone hitting a berm smooth, fine, that's cool, but when their body English is less than perfect because they're pushing so hard, and you can see evidence of the tires breaking traction in the berm, there's an energy to that I want to strive for in my shooting from now on. Pretty shots are cool. I love that, and I'm leaning more towards shooting scenes rather than tight race stuff in my day-to-day photography these days. But as soon as you're on a racetrack, you want to show that. That's not to say there's not room for more creative views when they're there, but I really want to show the energy and excitement of the racing. Hopefully I've done that with these. I'm looking forward to more slalom. That's all I can say. It's the funnest discipline to watch and shoot. I don't quite remember the schedule that was set for Crankworx Whistler last year. However, there were some changes made due to weather, which seems to be typical these days, especially with the slopestyle riders being so susceptible to wind and stuff like that. So as it turned out, the slopestyle was in the morning, and that same day in the afternoon, the pump track was on. So once slopestyle finished, I packed up and went up to the pump track straight away. They were practicing before the final runs, or they were starting to practice before everything wrapped up with the slopestyle. Pump track's always excited me. It's fun to ride. I love the simplicity of those little bikes. The track was another staunch track by Billinghurst. The guy's a machine. And it was tech. People were struggling in the early parts of it, crashing, going over the bars. There were a couple of little gaps straight away out of the drop-in ramp and corners that were catching people out for sure. I don't know if I've ever shot pump track before, so it took me a bit to sort of figure out what I was going to do. I hadn't seen the track either, and before the crowd showed up and the racing got going, everyone's just trying to figure it out. So it's perfect for me to try and figure out what I was going to do as well. But I ended up getting some shots that I'm really happy with from the pump track. It doesn't have the same energy, I find, as slalom, but it's still super fun. It's fun to shoot. There's a lot of repetition, so you can try something. But it was during shooting the pump track that I got back to my roots and I started focusing on the stories going on around it. The guys working on the tracks and the riders. These shots of Caroline Buchanan getting ready for her runs, in the start gate, ripping the track. I feel like there's a bit of a story developing there. The split lanes on the track made it hard to really put the head-to-head battle into a photo. There was only one section of the track where the riders were side by side. The rest of the time, they're completely apart. It's like a butterfly. They're following the wings outside of the wings, and then they'd come into the core for a second and then split again. And my pass didn't allow me to get one shot I really wanted to get, which was underneath the start ramp where this nice little tree garden setup was built by Adam and his team. And the riders would have been coming straight at you there. I haven't seen what anyone got from that yet, but that would have been a shot to get that I was unable to. So I was left shooting more or less individuals in their lane and trying to show off their form on the bike, and the intensity they were pushing, like little bits of air under their wheels, or the aggression over rollers and things like that. End the video with a couple of images that are favorites from the week shooting Crankworx in Whistler, but I'm keen to hear what you guys think of the treatments. This image here is LJ Para, I think is how you say his last name. LJ's a young ripper from the US, pushing into the slopestyle side of things. This shot of him just styling through the air looks great in color, I think, in the letterbox crop that I've treated it with here. But what do you think of this black and white one? I really like the black and white too. It simplifies things. I've always been a fan of black and white, period. So let me know down in the comments below. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you're excited to see more.